Greetings. This is Pastor Michael Huss with Something to Think About. Have you ever thought to yourself that I am a nobody? Have you ever made the comment to yourself that you really haven't accomplished anything significant in your life? Has anyone told you that you would never amount to anything? Have you ever been told that you just aren't good enough? You have done your best, and still your best just doesn't seem good enough. You've attempted to please your spouse. You've attempted to please your boss. You've even attempted to please your parents as you were growing up, and even at an older age, only be told that you could or should have done better, that you just don't measure up to their expectations, that the A or the B that you got should have been an A, and the A that you got, well, that should have been an A+. These negative, non-conforming words, often spoken to one as a child, only amplifies in one's heart and mind as an adult. The simple saying that says, "Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me," is really a false and misleading statement. For words do hurt, words do wound a spirit, and words have a lasting effect upon one's soul. For many who are listening to this podcast, this may ring close to home. Relating to these comments, you may say, "I'm speaking about you." Well, no, I'm really reflecting upon my own life experiences and have echoed these very words and have had these words spoken of me for the most of my life. I've had to struggle with my significance and my self-worth. I know what it means to want to be approved, but not being approved by the ones who love you. Wanting to be loved unconditionally, but finding that this love always held some form of conditions. Due to the external words spoken to me, my inner thoughts believed what was spoken. I began to believe the words and simply felt that I could not and would not amount to anything. These thoughts then translated to my relationship with God. How could God really, truly love me? A failure. How could I ever please God, for I'm a sinner? Could I ever be truly loved? Thinking about such things as an adult, I developed a saying that I would repeat to myself and then I would share it with others, that I am somebody special and I am loved by God. I am somebody special and I am loved by God. I realized that this statement was developed because I wanted to believe what my heart did not believe, that I was special and that I truly is loved by God. Now, to understand my journey, I need to start at the very beginning of my life. At the age of 44, a friend of mine asked me how I got my name. How does anybody get their name? By a parent at birth. According to what was passed down to me, my name was given to me in a slightly different way than normal. That day that I was born, my parents had no name for me. A new baby born to them. In fact, I was and had been told later on in life that if my older brother had not been miscarried, I would not have been born. Each day a nurse would come in to attend my mother and would always inquire if they had finally picked out a name for baby Huss, to which my mother would reply, "Not yet." On the second day at the hospital, while my brother and sister were visiting, the discussion of what to name me must have come up. At home was a rubber male doll in red and white pajamas who had the name Michael Peter. Off the cuff, my brother must have said, "Let's name him after the doll." Agreed upon the name of Michael Peter was given to me, the name of a doll. The next day, the nurse walked in again and asked my mother if a name had been given to me yet, and my mother replied with an affirmative yes. "Well, what is the name?" the nurse asked. "Michael." "Michael Peter," my mother replied. Ooh, the nurse backed away from my mother, claiming that that was a bad name and that I would be nothing but trouble for her and for them. Now, not only was I a nameless at birth, I then was named after a doll in red and white striped pajamas. And then I was cursed by a nurse. Wow, what a beginning to life. Before I finish the story, let me take a slight detour and talk about the importance of names. Many times in the Bible, names are given to parents for a specific purpose. The angel of God, for instance, came to Mary and said, "You shall call him Jesus." Some biblical individuals had their names changed, such as Saul was named to Paul, Abram renamed to Abraham, Jacob renamed to Israel. Oftentimes, names reflect one's current and future identity. Names can influence how we think or feel about ourselves, concerning oneself, or about another person. Names have meaning, and oftentimes unaware of the meaning, we tend to live out what that name means. God knew names are very important, and this is why I believe that he gave names to some parents in biblical history for their children, and then renamed other individuals in their new lives of faith, for he had a purpose for them to serve in his kingdom, something that was greater than themselves. Proverbs 22:1 says, "A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold." I have often struggled with how I was named. I believe that this struggle led my thoughts to a stream of lies about myself and of my worth. When I told my friend of my name journey, his comment to me was this: "Aren't you glad that your parents didn't have a name for you, and instead that a 6-year-old brother suggested a name of a doll for you?" I then asked him why, and he said, "Who really named you?" And I said, "Well, ultimately my parents, or I guess in this case my brother." "No," he said, "I believe it was God himself who named you through your brother." Think for a moment about the meaning of your name. Michael. Michael means who is like God, or defender of God, like the angel Michael, the defender of God's throne. And think about your middle name, Peter. Peter means rock or solid. And then he continued, "As I have known you and have witnessed your life, this is exactly who you are, a defender of God, unswerving in your faith, proclaimer of truth, a man who stands for truth and for righteousness." You see, you are somebody special to God and are loved by him enough for him to name you at birth to accomplish his kingdom work. Wow, what a revelation that day made in my life, and how it changed my self-worth and how I began to see myself. God is the one who named me for a greater purpose than myself, to serve in his kingdom. Today I rejoice in my significance before and in the Lord. What is the meaning of your name? Does your character reflect its meaning? Have you ever considered how and if your character reflects your name? Have you ever asked and discovered and looked for the meaning to your name? I suggest that you would do that. Research it. See what your name means, and then reflect upon your character and how you are living out your life. You have meaning. You have significance with God and in his kingdom. For you are somebody special, and you are truly loved by God. This is Pastor Michael Huss with Something to Think About.